The show, and our special guest has joined me in the studio here at East FM. Ros Hughes is part of the Crawford Wellness Centre up there at number 2, I think it is, Picton Street. Welcome along to East FM, Ros. Great to have you in the studio.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Phil.
Awesome. Now, you're a psychologist, and I was going to start by asking you because I don't know this. What's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
That's a great question. So a psychiatrist is trained initially as a medical doctor,
yes,
and then they go on to specialise in psychiatry, which is all about the medication of psychiatric disorders. Whereas psychologists, we're more interested in, we don't do medication, we're helping people with cognitive, like their thoughts and behavioural change. Yeah.
Do you have a couch?
I do. Very few people lie on it, though.
Oh. The other thing you do, which I find interesting, is that you specialise in one field, and that field is OCD. Yeah. Firstly, let's discuss OCD. What is OCD?
Well, it stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And typically what happens is an intrusive thought comes in. And, you know, we all get intrusive thoughts.
Yes.
This is the funny thing is, you know, some of your listeners might kind of be able to resonate with this, but, you know, maybe you're high up on a balcony or something and you suddenly get the thought, gosh, I could
jump off.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've read about this.
Or, you know, on a really rainy day, the traffic's bad and everything, and you think, gosh, I could just veer off into that power pole and no one would ever know that I'd intended to. You know, it would just look like an accident or something. And these thoughts can be quite shocking. Like, you know, they sort of hit us and you're like, gosh, why am I thinking about that? Gosh, you know, like I don't want to do that. And typically for, you know, you or I, we sort of, you know, we might have a thought like this and we get that little jolt and then we just go, we put it down. We sort of just go,
dismiss it.
That's a bit weird. Oh, whatever, move on, you know. And when you have OCD, these thoughts can really take hold and you make a lot of meaning of it. Like I wouldn't be having that thought if it wasn't maybe real, or maybe there's some truth to it. You know, why am I having this thought? And then what happens is you get more anxious. The more you think that thought should be there or has some meaning. And then what happens next is the compulsion part. People do something to try and relieve their distress from that thought. And so maybe I've touched something, here in your studio.
Yes.
And I've had the thought, I don't know who's touched that before. Maybe I'm contaminated. Maybe I'm going to take this contamination home and make my kids sick, right? And so the compulsion is that I'm going to
compulsion, washing hands,
right? And that's, I guess, what everyone kind of understands OCD to be. But man, those obsessive thoughts can attach to absolutely anything, and often it's something really meaningful to you. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people with OCD, what I notice is they're often incredibly creative people, which their mind uses against them because they develop these really inventive narratives in their head about what terrible things could happen. And also they're really compassionate people, you know, like on some level they understand that the thought they're having isn't real, is nonsense, yes, right? That they know it's illogical to have a 4-hour shower and scrub themselves with a pot mitt and make sure that the water's at 50 degrees, you know. But the thing at stake, you know, like the thought that my kids might get sick and I would be responsible, means the world to them, and so they keep going with it, you know. So did that answer your question?
It did for sure. It did for sure.
I know what I was going to say. It's just, you know, so we sort of typically understand OCD in contamination terms, but it can attach itself to all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So people can have thoughts like sort of other common themes are things like, what if I accidentally harm someone else? You know, like what if So people, it's not just intrusive thoughts. It can be intrusive images that come in to our minds. They might suddenly get an image of them stabbing their boyfriend in his sleep. And they're like, oh, would I do that? Could I do that? Like, did I just have an urge to do that? Why would I even have that thought? And it's so repugnant to them and so scary that they start doing things to ensure that they won't do it.
That will never happen.
Yeah, so they might sort of start sleeping in a separate bedroom. Yeah. They might lock their door.
Hide all the knives.
Yeah, absolutely. Hide all the knives. Another one that's quite common when you understand OCD, but not known to the general public is pedophilia OCD.
Oh?
Yeah, you walk past your child and suddenly ask yourself, did I look at that child inappropriately?
Wow.
Could am I the sort of person that might harm a child? Was I, being careful enough? Was I, particularly, this can happen with new parents as well. If they already have a vulnerability or they've had OCD in the past, the theme of their OCD might swap into this when they're changing their child's nappy. They're like, am I doing something
Should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it's incredibly debilitating and just so awful and lonely, I think, for a lot of people with OCD, because how do you share these thoughts, I've had a lot of people come into my office and it's really hard for them to admit some of their thoughts. They are often quite worried that I might wind up calling the police.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Some people have had even experiences like that. They've gone to someone that didn't understand. Particularly, there's a theme, suicidal OCD. The person may well not be depressed. They have no intention of taking their life, but they keep seeing images or having thoughts that maybe they will or maybe they're not to. And so they go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist and they say, I keep thinking about suicide. And suddenly the psychiatrist is writing them up a safety plan. And that actually feeds into the OCD, because then the psychologist or psychiatrist is also saying, gosh, these are dangerous thoughts.
Yeah,
gosh,
exactly. They're sort of endorsing them.
Yeah, and so then you start doubling down on your compulsions to keep yourself safe. And then the more you, ensure that you're never high up on balconies or you've gotten rid of all the drugs in the house, your partner can't get a hold of Panadol or anything anymore because
wow,
yeah. So
that's the other side of it, isn't it? I mean, we all see the compulsive hand washing and it's portrayed in the movies, and you think, oh yeah, that's a bit quirky.
Yeah.
But you think, well, it's harmless. But clearly, from what you just said, it's not.
Yeah, it's incredibly debilitating. I mean, I have treated people who have moved homes multiple times because in their mind their house somehow gets contaminated, yes. And it's not even germ contamination. Sometimes the contamination is just I get a bad feeling, and now I've got to control for the bad feeling. And the bad feeling makes no sense. I go in the lounge and I get a bad feeling, so now I can't go in the lounge. And so and sometimes moving isn't an option. So they're sitting in the driveway, living in their car now, or in a tent, or they've moved to their grandparents or something.
This is amazing. I had no idea that it was this
debilitating.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other hard thing about OCD is it recruits everyone in the family. Suddenly, mum, dad, brother, sister, they've all got OCD, like by proxy.
Yeah, because they're trying to help the person. Yes.
And so, the child becomes so incredibly distressed about the idea of their washing being mixed with other people's washing. So now mum has to do this elaborate, separating of the washing, and then she has to reassure the child that their washing is being done separate. And then they have to go and buy a new washing machine, and that washing machine can only be used for that child's washing, or it just. And
I suppose by doing that, by accommodating the person that has OCD, you're sort of training yourself to think, well, have I got OCD? Because I'm doing all these things.
Well, you sort of do,
and
really,
you think, wow.
And people, it can, particularly when it gets bad, the parents are easily as distressed as the child about everything going on. You know, parents sometimes take time, you know, they have to take a lot of time off work.
Yep.
They can't get their child to school because their kid has a 3-hour routine. You know, they've got to
Yep.
do these things in a certain way, and they've got to walk up and down the hallway 10 times because, you know, there's a certain ritual. They've got to tap, 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 and then they had a difficult thought, so they go back and tap, tap, tap again. And yeah.
You mentioned in the initial answer to the question, anxiety. I know I work on TV, and I know quite a few creative people, and quite a few creative people have anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
is that the expectation, or, you know, or is it just I can't? Is it sort of what's the word? I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough. Is it something like that? Because I know that causes, for people like actors and things like that, performance people, that really causes anxiety. Do I belong here? Am I really good enough to be here?
Yeah. And so, you know, anxiety is kind of a blanket term for a certain emotion that comes up, right? And there are a lot of different anxiety disorders. We have generalized anxiety, social anxiety, and so OCD certainly brings up a lot of anxiety for people, and it's not actually technically an anxiety disorder. And so, kind of to explain it, anxiety is seeking safety.
Yes.
And OCD is seeking certainty. So imagine this is kind of a sort of typical situation. You've just put your kid to bed, you know, 7-year-old, and the child calls out, "Mummy, come," and you go in and they go, "I think there's a monster under the bed."
Yes. And
you go, "Okay, let me check." And so you check under the bed really quickly, and you give him a big hug and you go, "There's no monsters, honey. You're right. Love you. Night, night." And then the child feels reassured. They feel safe. They're like, "Okay, mum's checked and it's okay."
That's good, yeah.
But a kid with OCD will lie there and they'll feel reassured initially, but they're not certain yet.
And then they'll start thinking.
Yeah, and they start thinking, and they go, "Maybe the monster was behind that box under my bed in the corner." So they call out, Mum, come back. You know, can you check again? Check the corner. So Mum comes back and she checks the corner. She goes, "Honestly," and she pretends that she does a really good look.
Sure,
it's,
like all parents do.
Yeah. "Love you. Good night. You know, you're good." And then 5 minutes later, calling, Mum, "I think the monsters are in the closet." Okay, right, we'll check the closet, right? And then the kid gets up 5 minutes later, go to the toilet, and they come back into their room and they think, "Oh, maybe the monsters got in since I was out."
Come back, yeah.
Yeah, and so now they're like, check under the bed and in the closet again, or maybe they're in the ceiling, and it just is this endless cycle that you can never ever get sure enough. There's just no amount of checking that you can get certain, you know. And people check their stoves. Did I turn it off?
Yep.
I just checked 5 minutes ago. I better go back. What if I'm remembering that I turned it off, but that's the memory from yesterday when I turned it off?
Yeah,
or,
right, yeah.
You know, or what if the cat jumped up and knocked
turned the stove on?
Yeah, so I better check again. Or my husband just came home, and what if he, for some reason, did it? You know?
Maybe, yeah, exactly.
And they know it doesn't make any sense, and the chances are just almost zero. But that 0.00001% chance is somehow
eating them up.
Yeah, eating them up. Beautiful explanation. Yeah, description.
We talked a little bit off air, and I said, other symptoms. Well, you've just described exactly that. It happens at a very young age. The monster under the bed, I mean, that's kind of folklore, isn't it, really? Oh, there's monsters under the bed. Yeah. And for most people, oh, yeah, ha, 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 ha. But for a person that is affected by this disorder, it's much more than that.
Yeah.
So is that something you look for? Is that like a trigger for a young person?
Do you mean monsters or?
Well, like parents looking for something going wrong with their kids, obviously looking at all sorts of different things, but that reoccurrence stuff, is that a symptom?
It's a cycle of seeking a lot of reassurance. And also, a common one for sort of younger people is like, am I a bad person?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so, do you think I did a bad thing or should I have said that? Lots of kind of worries around that sort of thing. Of course, the thing is that no one ever knows what's going on in someone else's head. Right?
No, until they verbalise it or tell you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if you see your kid, asking for a lot of reassurance, sort of being scared about things that aren't always sort of sensical. Some kids, obviously, they get worried about tests or something.
Sure, yeah.
But they sort of move past this. I think, come see me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll help you work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brings me to the other thing. Why did you decide to specialise in this field? Are you, this sounds very personal, but are you a sufferer? Did you sort of identify with the people that were coming to you with this problem?
To be fair, I did actually. I had OCD for a few years as a kid, but I honestly had no idea that I'd even had OCD till I became a psychologist myself. It went unnoticed by my parents, and I did a lot of hand washing, but I was taken to the doctor with red raw hands, and the assumption was made that I had
eczema or something like that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we bought me a special soap, and I stayed away from parabens or whatever sort of SLS, something that happens in soap that can sort of flare you up. But lots of the things just I would be waiting for my mum after school, and if she was late, I would start to get really worried that something bad had happened to her.
Yep.
And I would do these things like, if you hold your breath till that car gets to the next power pole, she'll be okay. And then, I would, and then I'd feel a bit better. But then OCD would tell me, now you have to hold your breath again.
Make it 2 power poles.
Count to something, And one of the funny turning points for me was when I told one of my close friends about it. Of course, I didn't know what it was, but I told her about how there were strings on my feet going from, imagine 5 strings between each of the toes.
Yes.
So the big toe linked to the big toe.
Like a puppeteer thing.
Yeah. And so I could just feel strings on my feet all the time, which meant that I had to try and walk in such a way that they wouldn't get tangled.
Oh, my God.
And riding my bike was quite tricky.
I'm sure.
I would have looked so strange. My feet at sort of funny angles, and I would be pulling my feet off the pedals and kind of twisting them this way and that because it just felt wrong. And then she just made a big joke of it, and she was like, whenever she thought of it, she'd go, "Hey, how are the strings on your feet?" And the moment she said that, my attention would be brought back to it, and we would have a laugh. And I think that's when I sort of started to diffuse from it's not that bad, I don't have to sort it out. I can just sit with this feeling. And then I guess I noticed too, because often I wasn't thinking about it. As soon as my attention was brought to it, they would be there. And so then I realised actually it was just about attention.
Yes.
It wasn't actually about there being strings on my feet or that I had to resolve this. All I needed to do was just turn my attention, Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
So can you grow out of it? Or do you just work your own way to get through it? If you can.
I guess it's hard to say that for sure, because there are probably people out there with sort of similar story to mine. But then, mine came back later, and I noticed that across my lifetime, when there's been a lot of high stress, that's when the thoughts come back in, right? And I've been incredibly lucky to be a psychologist and work it out for myself and know what I need to do. Mm-hmm. So I've never sought any, professional help with it. But yeah, typically you don't just grow out of it. And, you know, some people, what they wind up doing is they learn to manage it,
yes,
which sadly can make their life quite small.
Yeah, I would say it would put them in an isolated bubble.
Yeah, so like...
If it was extreme.
And then they sort of, OCD sells them this narrative that it's their preference to do it this way, or it doesn't matter so much. You know, like, I don't mind sitting in the laundry for 2 hours watching my whole cycle go through, from the washing machine to the dryer, to be sure that no one else has touched my clothes. I've got time to do that. And like, I mean, I just have a little nap and I read my book. It's fine, you know? And it's like, really? Is it fine? Like,
no,
yeah.
No, it's not.
But, you know, most people coming to see me have pretty good insight. Like, they're actually ready to do something about it. How many people are out there not doing something about it? I couldn't be sure.
And it's probably one of those things, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if you get sick, but you don't sort of acknowledge that you're sick, you kind of hide it away.
Yeah.
And as you start hiding it away, your life becomes compartmentalised, because I won't do that because I'm sick. I'll just stay here. I won't go out. I'll do this. I'll stay here. Yeah. Is that a similar situation?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And people sort of find these workarounds so that it doesn't seem that bad. You know, I saw this, I'm on lots of, you know, social media. Yeah, right. And so some of the ones I'm on are with people who have OCD. And I saw one the other day where someone posted that they struggle with, they have a chronic health condition and they need to take quite a few sort of naps and rest during the day, but their bed is kind of like a sacred safe space and they can't mix like outdoor clothes or regular clothes with the bed. And so there's a whole ritual and routine that needs to go through to, you know, you have to shower and you have to put on fresh pajamas and all the rest of it, and you can't touch the floor. And so this makes having a rest during the day just too hard. And so they'd gone out and bought this camp stretcher that they could sleep on in their room in the corner for their daytime naps. And I was like, oh, it's so sad.
It is,
you know,
a little bit
like
practical, I guess.
OCD is robbing them of true comfort, and, you know, just it's telling them this is the answer. That's not the answer. You know, how nice would it be just to be able to crawl into your bed, especially when you're chronically ill and you just need a rest. And so I have a lot of compassion for people that are going through this. Yeah.
If people listening to this are thinking, well, gee, that might be my kid or that might be me, what's the next step? I mean, you know, we've had all sorts of people in from the wellness centre, from the Crawford Wellness Centre, and they've told us how they can get in touch and all the rest of it. Is it a simple matter of just giving you a call and saying, listen, can I get an appointment? Can I book? And I need to talk to you about something?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a website, actually. It's 123ocd.co.nz.
Oh, yeah, I saw that in my research.
Yeah. There's actually another 123ocd.com. That's an American organise your closet thing. Because a terrible misconception. I decided on my name before I knew that existed, but obviously I'm in New Zealand and I'm running a very different service. I'm going to tell you how not to have to organise your closet.
Or how not to organise your closet 30 times a day.
Yeah. I mean, the saddest thing is, though, I mean, certainly do get in contact and I will do my best for you, and I can sometimes link people to other psychologists working in this area as well. But because there's so few specialists out there, I actually am running a wait list. And I know others specialising in this area are running a wait list. And so, obviously people can potentially rock up to any psychologist, but sadly you'd be surprised at how many people don't have your expertise. Yes. Yeah. And so in New Zealand, just for instance, there was some research that came out in 2023 about how many people presenting to mental health services actually wind up with an OCD diagnosis. And the stat was 0.18%.
Wow, so next to nobody.
Next to nobody. And yet we know that 1 to 3% of the population has OCD. So, you know, we could make all sorts of assumptions about what's happening there, but are they going there and not getting the right diagnosis? Are they just falling between the cracks, you know, like they're being cut off at the pass, if you like, you know, because so people misunderstand how incredibly debilitating it is. They might not be getting past triage or... Yeah. So,
possibly, because if you go to a person that's an expert, but not necessarily an expert in OCD, and they say, "Oh, well, there's nothing really to worry about."
Yeah,
well, Doctor such and such said there's nothing to worry about, so there's nothing to worry about.
Just go home and stop washing your hands.
Exactly.
So much.
I'll just tough it out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the Kiwi way.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the other thing about research that I think really highlights just how few people are understanding this is that the average time it takes from symptom onset to diagnosis is 7 years.
Oh, okay.
So people have often been suffering for a long time, and they've been trying to get help. You know, they might have gone to their GP, they might have gone to a local counsellor or something, and they might have been taught some breathing exercises or something, you know, to calm their anxiety. But that's not the treatment, you know, that's not how it works. So, And then, of course, once they get a diagnosis, you know, a psychiatrist might give them a diagnosis, they might trial some medication, but psychiatrists don't actually treat it, you know, with ERP, which is the gold standard treatment for OCD. Yeah, so getting a diagnosis doesn't solve your problem either sometimes, you know. Yeah.
So if I come to we make contact, I say, look, I'm a little bit concerned because I do compulsive things and I do them over and over again, and I come and see you.
Yeah.
And I guess the initial consultation will be just a chat.
Yeah,
and
it certainly looks like a chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll be nutting out like...
you'll see trends.
Yeah. I'll be asking you lots of questions about, you know, all the kinds of things you fear and what you do about it. So we'll be looking for sort of how all the compulsions play out. A lot of the time it's just not even obvious. You know, people aren't necessarily doing something you might see. It's just all in their head. They're just constantly trying to figure out if they're a bad person. They've got all these mental lists going on. They're going back 5 years, 10 years, about the time I did that. Does that mean that? Does that link to that, you know?
But isn't that in itself a bit dangerous? Because you see it all the time in the courts now, like referred criminal charges that are 20 or 30 years old, you know. Could you remember what you were doing 20 years ago on the 7th of July?
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, there's another whole crazy thing we could talk about all day, but false memories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, OCD will convince people that they might have done something or they didn't, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they say, don't they, that the mind's the most powerful thing in your body.
Yeah.
If you believe it, you can do it, sort of style.
Yeah.
And if your mind's telling you that, how do you fight that?
Yeah. And then, of course, your mind recruits your emotions and it feels so real. Like I've got the picture in my head and everything in my body is screaming.
Tells me this is what happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or, you know, funny thing too, and just in terms of how OCD recruits emotion, it's not even necessarily a thought like, what if I did this or what if that? It might be... just a sudden whoosh of emotion, like some people experience suddenly feeling really guilty and they're like, oh, what have I done? Like, I wouldn't be feeling this guilty if it wasn't for a good reason, right? And so then they search through everything that they've done that day, yesterday, through the week, like what did I say, you know.
That's a never-ending story.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's so uncomfortable to sit with guilt, right? And so if I can just figure out what I did and then I can apologise. And so that's coming back to your question about how might parents notice it. Kids that apologise a lot for things that they don't even need to apologise for. You're like, you're good, don't worry about it, mate, you're fine, you know. I wasn't worried about that. And they're like,
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Yeah, wow. There's so many, it's like anything, isn't it? Until you delve into it, there's so many things that just pass us by or you just miss the signals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just so complex. The sequence of OCD, this intrusive thought comes in, we make meaning of it, we have a really big emotional reaction, and then we do something. That's really simple. Like most people can understand that concept, but how it plays out is just so weird and wonderful and really individual. Like there's all these, common themes, but they all look different for each individual. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is that, people often don't seek treatment because they think their case is different, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah.
And I suppose and I don't think this is the right word for it, but I suppose if you're a sufferer, there's a little bit of shame involved in it as well.
Oh,
because what's going on with me?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This isn't real. This isn't normal. But you can't stop doing it.
Yeah, a lot of shame. Particularly when you recruit your family in as well, and you've got them doing things and they're really frustrated with you, and you shouldn't ask again, or you shouldn't get them to do, or, often people can't just operate in the kitchen anymore. It's just there's too much contamination or whatever's going on in the kitchen for them in their mind, and so their OCD's got them. It looks like they're shirking their responsibilities, but you're asking them to face a saber-toothed tiger.
Yep.
And so lots of guilt and shame.
So in the old days, would this just be you'd just be sort of consigned to he's a bit nuts?
Yeah, I think so.
And that would be it, wouldn't it? Oh, don't talk to the neighbour, he's a bit nuts.
And I guess
back in the day, that's how it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's a bit odd.
Or if it got to the stage where it was uncontrollable, well, we better lock you away for a little while. Thankfully, those days are probably, although I guess the ambulance is still at the bottom of the cliff with that in mind, but thankfully now there's people like yourself that are working to make this come right. And that leads me to my next question. You said that there's a long onset for the patient to decide, I've got to do something about this. How long does it take? Is it curable, and how long does it take?
Absolutely. That's the exciting thing about OCD is that you really can recover and completely get your life back.
Yep.
If you can crack the code, if you can understand the scam that's going on in your mind and stop. It's a really simple concept, incredibly hard to do. And certainly I enjoy supporting people to do it. But once you stop doing the compulsions and you ride out that discomfort, you learn that you don't actually have to keep doing them. And there's an amazing group of people that have got together just in the last year or so, and they've formed a charity called Open Closed Doors. And this is all about bringing a particular OCD treatment to New Zealand called the Bergen treatment. And I'm not on their clinical team, but I've been involved in the rollout of that. And it's a 4-day treatment for OCD that was founded by a guy called Bjarne in Norway. And he came out to help the New Zealand team get started with this. So they ran it in Auckland back in January, and they ran it again in Christchurch over sort of April, May, and they're trying to roll it out in the DHBs. Which would be fantastic, because there really isn't much going on in the DHBs for people with OCD. As I said before, with this 0.18% diagnosis, it's one of those things we've got to get enough people trained and up to I was going to say standard. I don't mean standard. These are great psychologists, but skilled. Yeah. upskill enough people in the DHB to get it really like rolling regularly, and so they're working so hard on that, and I'm excited to sort of be on the sidelines of that. So certainly anyone else listening that sort of thinks that a 4-day treatment for them might be the answer, they could get in touch with Open Closed Doors. They'll find them on the internet, and they can register their interest to be part of the sort of pilot rollout, if you like. Yeah. And
would you know how many specialist OCD psychologists there are, say, in the Auckland area?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know whether some of them are sort of hiding, but I actually, I've started a peer supervision group for other OCD clinicians really interested, really passionate about this area, and there's we're actually, because there's not that many in Auckland, I've gathered them from sort of Wellington, other regions. Yeah, so there's about 10 of us in that group. But certainly that's, you know, I'm not claiming that, you know, I'm that special. It's just that I don't know. There's not enough. Let's just say there's not enough. Yeah.
And I don't know that you know the answer to this, but why is that? Is that because it's not the glamour specialised field that everyone wants to do, or is it just the fact that a psychologist is a psychologist is a psychologist in some people's eyes?
Oh man, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I've got a theory. Look, this is just a theory. It's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that because a lot of people with OCD don't necessarily make it through triage in the mental health system, if you're sitting in, you know, like as a psychologist for community mental health or child and adolescent mental health, you probably don't have that many people with OCD on your books.
Yeah.
There really is no specialist training specific. I'm not going to say no, but it's very hard to get good training. There's some sort of half-day workshops or things online in New Zealand, but not a deep dive. How do you really do good ERP, exposure and response prevention? That's the name of the treatment. And so limited in that way. You can do some stuff online, but it's at 2 a.m. in America, and do you really want to be doing your training at 2 a.m.? So limited training. And with so few people coming through the doors, you know, you might get $3,000 or $4,000 a year training budget, you know, your continuing professional development budget. If you don't see many, why would you put your training budget into OCD? I think you're going to do
where it's probably not going to pay off.
You're not gonna see enough of those clients to really kind of, you know, utilize that. And what you need help with maybe is getting really good at treating depression or
which seems to be
a big one, obviously. You know, certain kind of psychosis or and so that's just my theory.
All right. Well, just a couple more questions. One, if we decide to do a course, or I guess there's a course involved, it's not just one visit, and is it expensive? I guess all specialised treatment's expensive, but unless your health, so it's probably worth it, whatever it is.
And I mean, it's so hard to say, you know, how many sessions you might need, or, you know, and it ranges. Some people might come and see me weekly at $249 a session for, you know, 12, 15 sessions, and then they're away. They've cracked the code. They know what they need to do now, and they're starting to see results. Other people where, you know, they've got extremely severe OCD. They're you know, they're not employed, they're not in any tertiary education or anything, they're paralysed by it, essentially. OCD governs every decision they make, whether they pick up the blue pen or the black pen, you know. It could be a lot more expensive. You know, I do kind of blocks, you know, I even do home visits with people. I do blocks of time. We do maybe a 3-hour session. And it's interesting because I think people go, gosh, it'd be, thousands of dollars, and yet I often compare it to, say, braces. If your kid's teeth are crooked, a lot of people don't think twice to go ahead and spend 10, 12,000 on straightening your teeth, which is nice. I'm not knocking anyone for wanting to get their kids' teeth straight, but it's not going to debilitate you for life, right? It doesn't hold you back from living the life you want to lead.
I have the same sort of situation. I do a lot of motor racing on TV, and people are bitching and moaning about an entry fee, but they'll spend $2,000 on a tyre.
Yeah.
And is the tyre the problem? No.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and I used to feel like very apologetic about what it cost, and I think there's this model in psychology that you go and you see your psychologist once a week or fortnightly until you're better, and for some things that's useful, but for OCD it can be a terrible model. Like you're just limping along for a long time, and I think I was sticking to that model for quite a long time because I felt like, well, no one's going to want to spend $500 this week on it, like it's enough to ask them for $249, and then I guess I was thinking about the whole dentist example, like orthopedic surgeons or whatever, they're not apologetic about the fact that it's going to cost you $20,000, or you can wait on a public. Do you want to use your hip for the next 5 years?
Yeah, my late mum was the same. She was on the waiting list for a hip replacement, and it was $45 to go private.
Yeah,
and it was nothing to wait for 2 years.
Yeah,
and she didn't make it.
Yeah, no, it's really sad. Yeah.
So the other thing is it getting better in New Zealand overall, or is it stagnant, or is it getting worse? Or I suppose it comes down to reporting, doesn't it? You hear on the radio and the news, such and such crime figures are up, but it might be because of the new reporting system. So if you don't tell anybody about it, well, I suppose you can't document if it's getting better or worse.
Well, I mean, I have great hopes that this rollout of Bergen with open closed doors is really, is really bringing the issue into the limelight in New Zealand. A lot more people are talking about it. There's been a lot of kind of stuff on the radio and the news about this treatment coming to New Zealand, and certainly, if the DHBs, there is support among DHBs to start to roll this out. If we can do that, that would be a huge step forward. That would be the biggest change for mental health services attending to OCD that we've seen ever, probably. And
is there a way to bring it into the public spotlight like we've done with suicide over the last 10, 15 years? Is there, like a campaign you can say, are you experiencing this? Do you do that, Yeah,
I don't know. It's a good thought. Do you want to run it, Phil?
No, not really, no.
Do you want to get on that soapbox? There's a documentary coming out, actually. It's about OCD, treatment for OCD in New Zealand. It's going to be on TV, but they're actually doing some special filmings. Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington, are hosting it just in a few weeks here in Auckland, actually. Yeah. Anyone wanting to go and see that film could go on Open Closed Doors website too, and they'll find out about it. Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions for me. Is it what people nowadays call a modern disease? Like, I'm sure ADHD was around when I was a kid. I probably had it, but I was never told I had it.
Yeah.
And the same with OCD. There'd be kids at my age that were thinking, I washed my hands a lot when I was a little kid. Was I susceptible to is that OCD, or is that just being a dumb kid? You know what I mean? There seems to be something for everyone. We're not.
I think sort of you sometimes hear bandied around, oh, we've all got a bit of OCD.
Yeah, exactly. Or the spectrum. I heard the other day everyone's on the spectrum. Well, what spectrum? I don't think I'm on the spectrum. I don't know. But am I? Who knows? And when I was little, that wasn't even talked about.
Yeah.
If you had ADHD, it normally meant you're hyperactive and you shouldn't be eating too much sugar or whatever. But that's a myth in itself.
What I do know to be true is that no one ever came into my office thinking they had OCD, and it turned out they didn't.
Yeah. Well, there's the answer.
I mean, if you're seeking treatment, it's because this is really affecting your functioning and it's causing you a lot of distress. So if you're just going about your daily life and you like to wash your hands more regularly than most, you're probably okay. Yeah. And so really, I mean, the diagnosis, you've either got it or you haven't. You're not really on a spectrum for it, right? I mean, we all have intrusive thoughts.
Sure.
That doesn't mean
but we don't
we're
act
somewhere
on
the spectrum,
Yeah.
And so it's all about how often you do, the intensity and the frequency with which you're having these thoughts and then engaging in these behaviours. How long are you doing compulsions for? Yeah, that's the diagnosis in, diagnosis out kind of criteria.
You said at the beginning that when you, like the height thing, you're up in a tall building and you think, I could jump off this.
Yeah.
I was racking my brain when we were having this discussion. I remember where I heard that. I was a big Robin Williams fan.
Oh, yeah.
And he took his own life because of mental disorders and things like that. But he often said that I'd go to to a rooftop and think, I could jump off this. That's not normal.
No, I'm here to say it is normal. You can have the thought. All thoughts are valid. It's just, do you want to respond to them? Yeah. I mean, you probably had that thing where you had a dream once.
I dream all the time.
And it was like a real crazy dream. And you're like, how is that rubbish in my head? Like, I don't want to do that thing. Like maybe you would. I don't even want to say it on here, but there'll be
sure.
You have a crazy dream, right? Yeah. And you wake up and you go, why? And it's no different to if you were awake and you had a crazy thought, right? Our brains just conjure up all sorts of weird and wonderful associations. And I sort of say to people, you've got to imagine your brain's a big computer kind of thing, and sometimes some things just belong in spam, or it's kind of got a bit of, you get those pesky pop-ups, right?
Yes.
You just
Yes, I do.
Don't ask why that came there. Don't kind of think, gosh, do I need to do something about this? Should I click on the link? No, just close it. Just be gone with you. Not engaging. Yeah, pesky pop-up, be gone.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy, actually. That's good. All right, quick plug for you. Tell us how we can get in touch and what we should expect.
Yeah, so a nice, warm, cosy, lovely office up at Crawford Medical there. Yeah. So, first session, just to really sort of get to know you, what's going on, how is this OCD, and you can either contact me through Crawford Medical. They've got a wellness site, or 123 OCD.
Yeah, your website. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And look, I'll get back to you ASAP. We'll book in an appointment, and let's get on with recovery, right? There's just such a wonderful life out there, meaningful life, ready to be lived if you can stop wasting time doing these crazy things that your brain's telling you have to do.
You should act on it. You shouldn't try and avoid it.
Act on getting in contact with me, do you mean?
Yeah, well, getting some help.
Yeah. I mean, some people leave it a long time. I just had a client this week, 56, get started, and she's like, "Oh, I should have done this years ago."
Wow.
Yeah.
And finally, how satisfying is it for you when you have a breakthrough?
Oh, I mean, that's why I'm in the game,
because you're passionate about it. You can tell.
Yeah. No, it's so rewarding to see people get their lives back, and that's the thing, is that most people with OCD are just incredibly creative, intelligent, people with such strong values, and that's what OCD recruits and uses against them, right? You know, like, you wouldn't want your grandma to die, so, you know, you have to do all these things, you know, because they're just, you know, they're deeply caring people. And so, to get them up and going again is just amazing.
Awesome. Well, it's been wonderful to meet you. It's been fantastic chatting to you. I've learned so much. This is incredible. All these interviews I've done for the Wellness Centre, I've learned a hell of a lot. I was obviously a very shuttered person before these things happening. Well, thanks, Ros, for coming in. And, just wonderful. Just really wonderful.
No, it's been really enjoyable, and you were right. I wasn't as anxious as I thought I would be.
So there you go. You see, that's all right. Yeah. It's coming up to 10 o'clock. We've been talking for a long time, which is fantastic. This is East FM. It's a late breakfast. We've been talking with Ros Hughes, and she is a specialist in the field of OCD. Now, if you've been listening to our chat, you can get in touch with us through the Crawford Wellness Centre, or you can go to our website, which is
www.123ocd.co.nz.
There you go. We can help you out any way you need to be. This is East FM. It's just about time for me to go, but it's coming up to 10 o'clock.